Musicians, have you guys been noticing? The AI storm is finally here, and as musicians, we have to actually address what we're going to do about AI and the cold, hard reality of it. So some artists are freaking out because they're like, this is going to be the end of creativity and we're all going to be out of a job. And I understand that fear. Absolutely. You got people on the other side that are like, no, this is going to be great. It's only just going to be tools for productivity. And both sides of that are missing something totally important that it's going over everyone's head. It's not about the AI. It really is not. It's about who controls the AI and controls the system for which we implement it, okay? That is the crux of the issue. In today's video, I'm going to be going through who controls the system, how can we actually make the system more artist-centric, and what you can do, regardless of what the industry does, what can you do to move forward and have a solution of an action plan, okay? So the first thing that we need to address is the concerns that musicians have, okay? Musicians have pretty big concerns when it comes to distributors' terms of service, right? So think about TuneCore, DistroKid, CD Baby, Lander, United Masters, Amuse, all these different distributors. There's terms of service and there's terms and conditions that you agree to whenever you use these distributors. So people are really concerned that the terms and service and the terms and conditions of these distributors are going to lead to some nefariousness. Now, while there's very popular YouTube people out there that love making fear-mongering content based around that, I'm not going to call anybody out in particular, I think a lot of that is overblown. And here's the reason why. The reason I have a huge issue with like the AI stuff is not because of the AI, it's because of how it's going to be utilized. So Spotify, for example, the DSPs. What I would say for most people is if you're just using a distributor to put your music out onto Spotify or Apple Music or any DSP, right? You're most likely not taking advantage of any of the additional upsells that each of these distributors have. So let's assume that. Let's assume you're not taking any of those upsells, right? You've just got your stuff set up normally. The terms of service are really not what you have to worry about, in my opinion, between you and the distributor. The terms of service that you have to really worry about is the terms of service of Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon Music. Those are the terms of service that we really need to actually be concerned about. And the agreements that DSPs make with distributors, that's something that's going to play a huge crucial role in how this system is ultimately implemented for artists, is the agreements that are came to from distributors and the DSPs that host the distributed content. And then there's the copyright issue. So if there's nefarious relationships at play here, and AI is being trained on copyrighted work, that's copyright infringement, right? So there's a copyright issue, and then there's a visibility issue where artists are concerned that because the influx of AI music that is already starting to happen but will continue to get progressively more and more and more plentiful over time, the big issue is I'm not going to be able to have any visibility. So they're concerned about their visibility because they're concerned the AI artists are going to overpopulate the human organic artists and will take all the fame, take all the market share, and no one will know who they are, right? So all these concerns have a hint of validation to them. I'll be honest with you, right? Distributors' terms of service will reflect sometimes the relationship they have with DSPs. So we need to pay attention to those things. We need to look at the DSPs for the features that they're trying to implement, right? They're trying to implement features. Let's look at Spotify, for example. Spotify is trying to implement a feature where a user, just anybody on Spotify, could take two songs and use AI to like mash them up together, right? And create a whole new song. So the questions arise, well, is that copyright violation? Is that who's going to get paid from that? In my opinion, there's actually a pretty easy way to fix that problem, which is that every single, you guys know this if you've ever put a song out on Spotify or whatever, there's something called a universal product code, a UPC, that is attached to every album or every single that's ever been released, right? And every single individual song has something called an ISRC code. This is like, again, a barcode for your song so that you can track its usage through radio and all kinds of different things. So this ISRC code is attached to every song, and Spotify knows the ISRC code. It's how it distributes royalties and things of that nature. So what Spotify can do is attach the ISRC codes to the songs that are being mashed together, and therefore, if two artists are, there's an AI mashup created from a user, any listens to this new mashup song, royalties will be split equally between the artists that were mashed together in the AI creation. I think that's a pretty easy system, honestly. It's very easy to implement. It's very easy to track because there are these codes that are attached to every song. So they could just make it to where when the AI mashups happen, the ISRC codes from each of those songs is notified, and then the royalties that are earned from this new creation are split 50-50 amongst the people who created it. Now, there might be even some more ways that artists can leverage this, where they're actually incentivizing use of their work in an AI fashion. Artists like Avenged Sevenfold have already got on this train where they've created licenses around the AI duplication of their work, whether that's voice duplication or the actual music itself, and making it to where they have a license that they're pretty much giving out there. I don't think it's for free. I think it's a small fee or free. It's one of those two. I haven't really dug into it super in depth. But we're looking at it like, okay, there are artists that are already starting to look at this and figure out how they can create licenses so that people can use their art to create AI mashups and whatever, and there's still some sort of tracking, right? There's still some sort of accountability and tracking that's going along with it. And I think with Spotify, it'll be even easier because of the existence of ISRC codes and UPC codes. So that's a really big thing to look at is, sure, it's on the surface very scary to think that your music without your permission could be taken and mashed with another artist to create a unique piece of music and you were never notified and you don't get paid for it. That does seem kind of dystopian. However, with the existence of these codes, I find it very hard to believe that Spotify couldn't implement this system that I'm talking about very easily, where the ISRC codes are attached to the files and therefore there's no issue. So everyone can get paid even when AI is involved. So that's one solution, hopefully, that anybody at Spotify, throw that up the hierarchy chain and see where it lands. But we have to make a decision, ultimately, regardless if Spotify does that or not, okay? I just wanted to throw that out there because it's a fun idea. But we have to now make a decision and look at the direction that the future of the music industry is heading, okay? So the first thing is, let's make a decision. Artists and musicians have this huge dilemma that they keep falling into, which is my music a commodity? Or is it marketing, okay? Now, some artists would disagree with that categorization altogether, and they say, no, my music is art, and therefore it's not. Either one of these, I would say, okay, then you're a hobbyist. If you're a professional musician who's trying to make music your livelihood, then you have to decide. I'm either going to use my music as the vehicle of wealth, meaning people are going to pay for the music, and that's how I become wealthy, commodity, or I share my music for free to get them to become fans of mine, and then I sell them other things, so that in that case, the music is the marketing. We have to make that decision as a professional. Those are our two options. The third option is to sit on the sidelines and not be a professional. So if that's the option that you want to take, Godspeed. But if you're trying to become a professional, we have to decide, is this a commodity or is it marketing? Now, for those of you that have seen my videos, I believe music is marketing nowadays. I do not believe that music is solely a commodity. I do think it's kind of a hybrid where you can have very clear instances, whether it's like selling vinyl, cassette, CDs, USBs, it doesn't matter. You can sell a physical item that contains your music. You can have some kind of physical media. So it is kind of half commodity, half marketing. But look at the percentage of the fans that are out there of music that consume music as marketing versus consume music as a purchase of a commodity item. The vast majority of people are consuming music from a marketing standpoint, meaning for them, it's free to consume. Now, I got in a debate on Threads with musicians about this, which is, how can an AI train itself ethically? Because a lot of people have an issue. They're like, if AI goes to YouTube and scrapes a bunch of stuff from YouTube, then technically that's copyright infringement. I'm like, wait a second. This is called artificial intelligence, correct? Meaning it's supposed to mock what intelligence is, but from an artificial standpoint, because we create it synthetically. It's not natural, organic, human intelligence, it's artificial intelligence. Well, how does natural, human, organic intelligence consume music for inspiration to create more music? By and large, it consumes it as marketing. It's on YouTube for free. It's on Spotify for free if you've got the free plan. It's available in every restaurant, bar, mall that you're in the background. So the consumption of the music for the consumer is by and large free. Okay? So what that means is even musicians, when I say consumer, musicians are consumers, right? Don't separate those into different categories because they all fit into one. So now think about this for a second. AI is like an artificial consumer. They're like an artificial human being mind that can go out into a mall, let's say, and listen to the music that's in the ether, get inspired by it, and by inspired, that's a fancy human term that we describe the internal mechanisms of data processing that happens inside of our head, right? That's what we describe it as, but that's what the machine is doing. It's trying to mimic that natural algorithm that happens in our brain for creativity and trying to turn it into a machine, an artificial version of it. So if we're going to have artificial intelligence, period, we either need to decide AI should not exist at all or it's going to exist. Because if AI is going to exist, it needs to be able to be trained on something. Just like any mind, any intelligence needs education, right? So if we're going to have artificial intelligence, we need to have education for the artificial intelligence so that it has something to go off of to give us accurate information when we're using it as a tool. Do you understand? So when we're looking at it like that, if an AI artificial consumer goes on to YouTube, which is a free public square that people like you and me consume music for free all the time and consumes the same music for free, then what is the difference between you and I consuming that and somebody else and some artificial machine consuming it? The difference is one is a human being that did it and one is a machine that did it. Okay, so I get it. We want to protect human beings, but really the process of us creating something is totally the same. I mean, I shouldn't say totally the same, but it's by and large the same process. We're involved in an environment where we're consuming music by and large for free, and then we're going out there and we're taking that inspiration and we're turning it into music. That is what AI is doing. It's taking a plethora of information and it's turning it into something that's usable, okay? So that is how an artificial consumer, quote unquote, that's how AI, in my opinion, can ethically train itself because it's going out there and consuming music the way that you and I would consume it. Now, it's one thing if AI was getting behind paywalls and getting behind secret doors in websites to get copyrighted material that was not available for free, right? If we have this material that's not available for free, it's behind paywalls, it's behind opt-in pages, and AI is somehow usurping that and getting that copywritten information and training on that, I would say that that's unethical. However, when we as artists put our music into a landscape that is where people consume music for free, we can't be surprised when people consume the music for free because that's how we put it out there. And so if we put our music out there for free, we can't really be surprised if AI is going to use that free material to educate itself on. I know for some people, they're like, copyright, piracy, and they start throwing these things out there. And that's why I say copyright and not piracy, because piracy, I don't think applies definitionally to what we're talking about. It falls more under copyright infringement if there is an issue here. But my thing is, if we're putting out music in these public squares where music is consumed for free, then we have to be open to the idea that AI will also consume that music for free, okay? So that's just an opinion. That's just my opinion. You can have yours. I'm going to have mine. But that's my perception on it. Now, I think there's going to be an unintended positive consequence from AI being introduced into the marketplace, which right now we have a bit of a supply and a demand issue, okay? We have a supply and demand issue where there's so much music out there. There's so much music that there's no way everyone can consume all of that music, right? There's just too much. And so from the perception of the consumer, they're looking at it like, wow, all these artists are out here creating music. There's no way I'm going to be able to listen to all this music, right? So there's a perception of, and this is the reality, of complete abundance. There's a near infinite amount of music out there that people can select from. And with the introduction of AI, that is going to increase. There's going to be even more supply than there already is. And so the concern is, well, now the supply is going to reach a level where there is absolutely so much supply that it is going to drive music even further into valuelessness. And there is an issue with that. However, if we're not looking at music as a commodity, that's not our biggest concern. I mean, think about it. If you're getting a majority of your income from Spotify, then sure, this is going to be a big concern of yours. But if you're getting a majority of your income from ticket sales, t-shirts, experiences, lessons, all kinds of different ways that you can monetize your audience, then it doesn't really matter to you, oh, Spotify's now going to pay me 0.0031 cents. You know, for you, you're like, great, that doesn't really make that big of an impact on my business anyway. Now, on the other side of this, we have to look at it like, okay, so the supply is going to get super inflated. However, I want to introduce a concept that is kind of controversial, which is perceptual supply and demand. Meaning, we can look at an audience or a market, and a fan base can say, wow, 100% of the market is these human-created songs that I'll have no time to listen to, right? That's the perception of the marketplace. It's like, there's so much music created by humans, I can't give everyone equal attention, there's no way I'm going to be able to check it out. Now, when AI gets introduced into the marketplace, there is going to be a ton more music on the marketplace. So they're going to be like, great, now it's even more worthless and harder to find me. The visibility issue that I mentioned earlier. However, I have a concept that I've kind of thought through of perceptual supply and demand. So from a consumer perspective, it's like I'm looking at this, and now all of a sudden there's a bifurcation. There's a divide happening where there's now not just music, which for the dawn of time, music was assumed to be created by humans. Pretty much, right? So we had from the dawn of time, we have organic human-made music. Now we have the introduction of artificially created music by artificial intelligence. So what's going to happen is that artificial intelligence is just by the nature of machinery and technology going to be able to produce more than humans will. So the amount of AI songs is going to increase and increase and increase and increase and eventually get to the point where the number of human-made songs will be like this and the number of AI-made songs is going to be like this. Sounds dystopian, except human beings don't always behave rationally. That's the big problem that a lot of people have when they're thinking about economics and how things are going to go, is they think that human beings are going to behave completely logically and rationally. That's not usually the case. So what I think is going to happen is you're going to have a perception now of scarcity. Why? Because think about it. I'm just going to make up some numbers for easy math. Let's say there's 1 billion human-made songs out there. But then, you know, you have the consumer looking at it like, wow, there's 1 billion songs I can't listen to. But then let's say you have 3 billion AI songs and 1 billion human songs. Now the human songs look like a scarce resource because by a relative measure, by a relative standard, there is way less human-made songs than there are artificially made songs. So you have to think about it like this. You have to think about it from the consumer's perspective. They're going to look out there and see, wow, there are so many songs out there, but so few of them are made by actual people. Even though realistically, millions of songs are made by people, right? Millions of songs are made by people. Maybe even 1 billion songs are made by people. But the perception is going to be, there is so much AI music out here that there's no human-made music. Where's the human-made music? And people are going to start to build a preference and a proclivity to want to consume organically human-made music. This is my predicament, or my prediction, I should say, is that people will start to see there is so much artificial music out there that where's the organic stuff? Where's the stuff that humans used to make? And even though there's going to be lots of it, it's going to be perceived as scarce. It's going to be perceived as not around as much. And so it will have more value to it. Scarcity produces value. When there's, let's say you're in the middle of the desert and there's 400 million water tanks. You have an abundance of water. Is water really that valuable? No, there's 400 million tanks of it. You could lose 1,000 of those tanks. You'll be just fine. However, you're in the middle of the desert and there's only 1 bottle of water to go around. How valuable is that water now? It's the most valuable thing in your eyesight because it's the only way that you're going to be able to live, right? Scarcity produces value. So the perception of scarcity among human authentically created music is going to become viewed as a scarce resource and which will therefore increase its value, okay? So that's my idea here. So we have to look at this. The third thing is this is what's the solution, right? So what's going to happen in the future is there's going to be 2 markets. So the music market that we have right now is going to be split into 2. It's going to be human-made organic music, and then it's going to be artificial intelligence music. Those are going to be two markets, and there's going to be people, I know it sounds crazy, there are going to be people that prefer the AI music over the human music, okay? So both of these markets will exist at the same time. And then in one sense, this organic side has the value of scarcity. So one of the things that we can utilize now and get ready for this so that we're one of the ones that are pioneering this when this becomes the norm, we've already been doing it, is experiences. We need to figure out how to create experiences for our audiences. Now let me get specific. What does an experience mean? An experience could be something as simple as the experience of going through your checkout process at your merch store. Right? It doesn't have to be some like, we rented out the Taj Mahal, it doesn't have to be some kind of crazy thing. It can be something as simple as, what is the fan user experience checking out at your merch store? What is the fan user experience of going to a show? What's the fan user experience of joining your email list or signing up for your fan club? If you can enhance the experience around it, make it feel more human, make it feel more like they're getting closer to the authentic, organic you, and you don't use AI avatars, because that's where the future is going to go, guys. There's going to be AI duplication avatars of people out there on the internet. Who knows? Maybe one day you'll see an artificial Dax here teaching you guys about music education 24/7 while I'm off making websites and hanging with my family and my friends and helping my clients out. Like, that may be something in the future, right? But right now, I think, and I like shooting these videos because, as you can tell, I like yapping. It's my thing. It's what I'm really good at. Anyway, what's going to happen is we're going to have to create experiences. So whether it's a metaverse experience where someone is in the metaverse and it's like all digital, and maybe it's like an AI artist and it's like some kind of cool vibe and club that's all AI and it's all in the metaverse, there's going to be a market for that. However, I think there's going to be a market over here. Because think about it like this, AI is going to go through what we went through. AI is going to go through an inflation of their presence in everything, really, where music created by AI will be viewed as less and less valuable. I would even care to argue that AI-generated music will get a different royalty rate based on the fact that it is so plentiful in volume. To where if Spotify had to pay artificial artists the same that it paid organic artists, it might go bankrupt type thing. Where artificial artists may get these really, really like 0.0000005, cents per stream. They may get something really drastic like that, potentially. But what we have to look at is, how do I create experiences for the markets that I'm going to be serving? Right? And so for most of you, you're going to be in the organic market. I'm creating music authentically, either with the machines by hand, using MIDI and synthesizers and all this kind of stuff, right? Or you're doing it because you have an instrument hooked up to a microphone, right? Either way, you're going to have to figure out how to create experiences that don't just encompass like, oh, the live experience is really good. Because some of y'all don't play live, and that's okay. I know artists that have never played live but still make really good money. So the idea, though, is you have to create experiences. You have to create these VIP moments, these kind of live things that you can utilize. And when I say live, it could be virtual or it could be in person. But you want to get people to have closer access to you as a person, because that proximity is going to create a sense of value, because now they're actually close to the organic person, not just some artificial AI avatar. Now, the way that we're going to have to sell all this stuff is through direct marketing, direct response marketing specifically. So what is that? That is the marketing that is designed to get people to take a specific action. So we can't just rely on, I put out some content of me, just dancing to my song. Sometimes that can work, but I think what we're really going to have to lean on is, how do we create content that gets people into our experiences, right? That's what's going to be essential, is we have to be able to engage people in a way that they're going to want to hop into our experiences. And direct response marketing is, in my opinion, the best way to get people to take action now, as opposed to taking action when they feel like it, right? So hopefully this video has been a nice little eye-opener for you as far as the concerns of AI, but also maybe giving you some different ways to look at AI, so that when you're going out there and you're pursuing your career in the music business, you're not totally dystopian, black-pilled, everything's awful, right? You have a little bit more of a white pill perspective where it's like things are going to be okay if I know how to sell my products and my services attached to my music, and if I can create experiences that make my fans want to do that as often as possible. As Steve Wynn once said, that which is instantly gratifying will be repeated. And so if you can find out a way to make your experiences more instantly gratifiable for your fans and consumers, they will ultimately repeat that action over and over and over again. If you got a lot of value from this video, hit the subscribe button and the like button, all that kind of good YouTube-y stuff. And if you would like some one-on-one help setting up direct response marketing systems inside of your music business, click the link that's in the description. We've got a way that you can apply for a free coaching call to see if it's a good fit for us to work together. If that's a good fit for you, click the link in the description now. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.